Hello, everyone. I think we're going to get our webinar on going paperless started. My name is Healy Jones. I am the head of marketing for OfficeDrop. We're a digital filing system and document scanning service. We're very pleased to have Josh Zirkle here. Josh is a productivity strategist and a well-known certified professional organizer. He is the founder of Custom Living Solutions, the San Francisco's Bay Area's premier productivity and organizing consulting firm. He was also the 2008 to 2010 president of the San Francisco chapter of the National Association of Professional Organizers. At OfficeDrop, we're really excited about Josh in particular because he helps entrepreneurs and small businesses find ways to get in control of their information, space, and use technology to have productivity and time-saving tips. He's been featured on CBS News, ABC News, in the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, Organize Magazine, Online Organizing, and a number of other publications. And he's also a co-host of Thrive Solutions, which is a radio talk show on Thrive in Balance. I am very pleased to introduce Josh. Josh.
Thanks, Healy, and thank you, OfficeDrop, for hosting. I'd like to welcome all of you onto the webinar. I have some really exciting information to share with you, both today when we're talking about the overview strategies of going paperless, and on our next webinar when we talk about specific technology tools that you'll want to use if you're going paperless. I'm really passionate about helping entrepreneurs and small businesses figure out strategies so they can focus on doing what's important to them rather than focusing on the details. And definitely going paperless can help with that. When you go paperless, you get to quickly the piles of paper in our office or on our desks. Going paperless can really help get those things more in a system that we're used to using, typically the computer, where we can search for things like we can when we're used to searching on the internet. So we'll be talking about how to make that happen today. Briefly about me, I started my business, Custom Living Solutions, in San Francisco in 2003, and since that time I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and small businesses and individuals to help them figure out strategies for managing all of the things in their business and in their lives that feel out of control. At this point, I focus personally on working with entrepreneurs, specifically on helping them integrate technology into how they work. So we make things easier for them by folding in the right pieces of tech. As Healy mentioned, I'm one of the first certified professional organizers in the United States, and I'm fortunate in that I get to receive ongoing training in organizing and productivity through both the National Association of Professional Organizers and the National Study Group on Chronic Disorganization. What is a professional organizer? According to the National Association of Professional Organizers, someone like me, a professional organizer, helps people to take control of the things in their lives or in their work that feel out of control. So typically in my world, that means helping clients take control of their time. Maybe they need help managing their schedule. Oftentimes it's managing their paper, figuring out what strategies make sense for getting through the paper stacks. And sometimes it's managing their space, and frequently it's managing their technology. As you may have seen on TV on shows like Hoarders or maybe Clean Sweep, professional organizers work in residential environments and offices. There's a wide range of where we work. Again, I focus on working with people in their offices. In my work, I focus on 7 key areas of productivity. First, planning, determining how you're going to approach your organizing projects. Then pruning or weeding, which means weeding through your things to make sure that you're keeping only what you want, need, or use. Then we focus on managing the space, making sure that everything is arranged so that it's at easy reach, or that you're using your storage most effectively. I also focus on helping people with paper, which is what we'll be talking about today. And we'll also be touching on another area that I help clients with, which is technology. Many clients need help managing their tasks or their schedule. And then a key factor in making sure that you stay productive is maintaining any systems that you put into place. So those are the 7 areas that I focus on with my clients. Today we'll be talking specifically about paper, and we'll be folding in the technology piece as well. So before I talk about the specifics of what going paperless is and how you'll get started, think about this scenario. You're on a business trip, and typically if you're going to a conference, you'll collect all sorts of different bits and pieces of paper. Maybe all of the expenses for your flight or for your taxi, maybe for the meals that you've eaten or meetings that you've had, documents, maybe the conference book or the handouts from meetings that you've gone to. You get usually a nice little stack of those. And then maybe you're receiving faxes or other communications. Maybe even you're getting your mail forwarded if you're away for a while. So you end up with a bunch of paper from just a very brief trip. Then when you get back from the trip, you need to do something with all that paper. And this is where the problems start to happen. So you've got this big stack of stuff. Maybe it's been sitting in the conference bag or in your briefcase or your purse. Then you decide, oh, I need to do something with that. So you start getting all of those papers together, and maybe you start sorting them out. Maybe you put the expenses in one stack so that you can expense those to your company, or maybe you can write them off. You sort out all of those things, and that usually takes about an hour. The other thing that those you might want to put into a file, or you might want to send an email to follow up on something. There's another hour and a half or 2 hours right there. And then maybe there's some things that you need to send out back into the world in paper form. So that might be through your fax machine. It might be emails that you printed to that you printed, and then you need another half an hour right there. So that's at least 2 hours spent dealing with paper alone from this one short business trip. Wouldn't it be great if there were easier ways to deal with this rather than having stacks of stuff? There are. But before we explore those, let's talk about what some of these specific problems are. So, as you may know, if you've got stacks of paper on your desk, paper causes lots of clutter. It tends to stack desk on the floor on any horizontal surface available. It clutters up our briefcases, our purses, our backpacks, whatever bag you carry, paper tends to live in there. Additionally, paper takes up a lot of space. A file box or a file cabinet, especially a multi-drawer file cabinet, is a significant piece of furniture in any environment. Even if you use it for multiple purposes, maybe storing something on top of a file cabinet, that file cabinet itself takes up a lot of room. And since there's drawers that need to be pulled out, it actually takes up double the floor space than it actually looks like initially, because you need room to be able to get into the cabinet itself. Paper often feels like it's creating babies in the night. You come in one day and there's just more paper there than you thought there were the day before. Paper takes on a life of its own, especially when you don't have effective systems for dealing with it. Paper also doesn't just do its own thing. You need time to process the paper and get it into whatever systems you manage your paper with. So paper doesn't just magically float and into your office and then get completed. You need to take real time to deal with it, and if you don't have systems for managing it, it takes much longer. If you've ever misplaced a document or maybe an important client file, you know how easy paper is to lose, especially if you're keeping little scraps of paper. Maybe you're writing notes back of envelopes or on sticky notes. You've probably found out how easy paper is to lose. Also, one of the benefits of going online is that you can share things easily. We're used to forwarding emails or sharing documents. We can't do that with paper. Paper can't easily be shared. We have one copy of a document. In order to share it, we need to make another copy, send it off, or physically give it to someone else. There is no instant sharing with paper. Also, paper lives in one spot. If you've got a document, it's living where it is right now. It's also living on a coworker's desk or also living in your file cabinet. So paper is really location specific. And if you're an on-the-go professional like many people that I work with, and you'd like having your information with you all the time, paper doesn't lend itself well to doing that. Since your important documents might be at your office and you don't have access to them when you're on the go, you might lose out on a potential business deal or not be able to get a client information that they need as quickly as you'd like to get it to them. Since paper is in one spot, you can't easily send it around as you would with an electronic document. So instead of talking about the problems with paper, let's talk about the benefits of what can happen when you go paperless. Well, first, and probably most foremost, is you'll have less paper. Paperless means less paper. So you'll have less paper to store, fewer stacks on your desk, fewer things cluttering your briefcase or purse, less paper to deal with overall. Typically, when you go paperless, another benefit is that there's no stacks of paper clutter around. In addition to the stacks of paper that you're actually working on, Most offices that go into have lots of paper clutter, which is paper that's just kind of shoved in a corner or stacks that haven't been looked at in a while. When you commit to going paperless, you won't typically have those anymore because your paper will now be in an electronic system. Remember how I said file cabinets and paper take up a lot of space? Well, typically if you go paperless, that's no longer a factor. Since everything will live in an electronic system, your limitation of what you're keeping is really only limited by the system that you're using, whether it's your hard drive or an online service that you're subscribing to. It will no longer be limited by the amount of file cabinet storage space that you have available. Additionally, you won't have to account for file cabinet storage when you're planning out your physical office workspace. One of the next benefits of going paperless is that it really supports the mobile work style. So if you like working in multiple places, or if you're on the go and you work with clients at their sites, or you go and meet with a lot of vendors, going paperless will let you have all of your information with you all the time. Rather than having to tell a client, I'll send that to you when I get back to my office, you could instantly access it when you're with them and send it to them right then and there. It looks much more professional and much more efficient and effective to be able to access your things all the time rather than having to wait until you're back in your office. As I mentioned, going paperless is extremely efficient. You can cut down on the number of stages in a workflow. You can send documents around much more easily. You can collaborate and share documents with your coworkers, vendors, clients, or colleagues much more easily than you can with paper. And finally, paper is not the greenest option. If you're printing things out and filing them, you're wasting trees unless you actually need that physical document. When you go paperless and get everything on your computer, especially if you start using a beginning to end paperless workflow, you may never actually see a printed document for something that you're working on. It may be paperless from start to finish, which is extremely green, doesn't use any paper at all, let alone recycled paper or having to recycle paper when you're done. One thing to note is going paperless does not mean that there will be no more paper. It means less paper. It's unlikely that you'll ever be completely free of dealing with paper. One of the things that I have to tell clients, which is a sad truth, is that paper will still come in the door no matter how paperless you go in your office. You'll still collect documents when you're out in the world with clients or vendors. It's likely that you'll still print things out from time to time, and you'll still have mail, documents, things you collect at workshops or conferences. All of those things will still come in. The difference is that when you have a paperless solution, you'll be able to process through these papers much more easily. They'll take less physical space, and you'll be able to get them into electronic systems that let you do all of those great things that I just mentioned that you'd be able to do when you have a paperless system rather than a paper-based one.